4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic Vietnam. Content layout 4T strategy for living with the COVID-19 pandemic. 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic in Vietnam will contribute to fundamentally change the way to prevent and control the COVID-19 epidemic or better. The overall goals of the 4T strategy are: make goods circulate smoothly, as before the COVID-19 pandemic or better. Freedom to travel, freedom to join traffic again, as before the COVID-19 pandemic or better.
The main content of the 4T strategy: criteria to orient production and business recovery, criteria for orientation of social and community activities, criteria to guide fixed and mobile medical services, criteria to guide publicity and transparency in policies. Post date 21/54, October 3, 2021. Last update date 09/23, October 8, 2021. Genre: creative, powerful, progressive. Copyright of the author, Tota24, a research scientist in business administration.
Lessons learned from Tota24's practice on the prevention of COVID-19 in the world. Most countries rely on supermarkets and department stores to provide essential food goods for the people. In addition, they also use market vouchers to distance and trace FO, F1, F2, while supermarkets and department stores is an ideal environment for influenza virus strains to reside, not actively mechanizing the collection of samples for COVID-19 testing in order to increase labor productivity, shorten campaigns, reduce costs. Some countries still maintain centralized medical isolation when the Delta COVID-19 strain has appeared and spread by air.
A criteria to orient production and business recovery. Hello friends. Today, Tota24 presents to you 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic in Vietnam. This is the first criterion, the pillar of the 4T strategy. Criteria to restore production and business is the main orientation, is the backbone of the strategy of living with the COVID-19 pandemic. Because businesses are healthy, the economy is healthy, thereby ensuring resources to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. If you want your business to be healthy, you must first take care of the health of your workers and labor force.
1. Redirecting the strategy, giving priority to vaccination against COVID-19 for employees. Strategic redirection, giving priority to vaccination against COVID-19 for employees in all professions, all ages, nationwide, in which priority is given to workers in factories and labor zones and industrial zones with a high concentration of workers. Hosan Group HSG, an enterprise implementing 3 business activities on the spot, is the earliest, is the unit with the best business performance in Vietnam's steel industry. It is estimated that as of August 31, 2021, the accumulated profit after tax for 11 months of fiscal year 2020 to 2021 is VND 3,994 billion, up 266 over the same period. EPS 8,094.00 VND/share. Image source HSG.
2 enterprises that have carried out production and business 3 on the spot continue to become the mainstay, leading the economy. Enterprises that have carried out 3 on-site production and business before now need to pay attention to inject 2 full doses of COVID-19 vaccine for workers reaching the rate of 100. After that, enterprises can give workers have had 2 full vaccinations against COVID-19. Return home to normal activities. From here, end production and business phase 3 on the spot. At this point, it will help reduce administrative costs and increase business profits.
Enterprises autonomously control the COVID-19 epidemic. Now and in the future, enterprises move towards autonomy in controlling the COVID-19 epidemic, being entitled to license for workers, traffic staff, self-funding to resume vaccination against COVID-19 on an annual basis. Through medical order contracts from vaccine supplies to vaccination services, the set of businesses will be the backbone of the economy. When there is a special drug to treat COVID-19, which is mass-produced, to be allowed to circulate and conduct popular commercial business, then businesses will switch the COVID-19 pandemic to the normal state like before the pandemic. At that time, COVID-19 patients will be treated like a common flu.
3 weak enterprises due to the characteristics of the business sector. Weak businesses due to the characteristics of the business sector stopped production and business in the last 4 epidemic due to the high concentration of workers. Now, it is necessary to quickly implement policies to attract workers. At the same time, there are next steps such as 3 on-site production and business enterprises to create a strong driving force for economic development.
4 small and weak businesses 4T strategies to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. Small and weak enterprises now need to quickly implement policies to attract workers and rely on support from the Common Policy for Development. 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. Vietnam author Tota24 is a professional CFO, scientific researcher in business administration. More than 14 years as a shareholder on the Vietnam stock market.
B criteria for orientation of social and community activities. Purpose 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic, orienting customs and habits of people in daily life towards the prevention of epidemics and adaptation to the COVID-19 pandemic. Vietnam should drop the 5K message because it has disadvantages such as
the first, 2-meter distance guidelines, dating back to former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence. No longer suitable to deal with Delta variant COVID-19, which is airborne. Observing from practice, Toted24 found that there are residential areas. They posted self-management barriers, then placed seats from 1.5 to 2 m apart so that they could gather in groups of 5 and 3 to enjoy conversation. And no one is wearing a mask. At this observation point, it was found that medical staff often came to this area to take samples for testing many times.
Second, 5K message, making the instruction and propaganda no longer go into the essence of the problem. Living in residential areas. I always listen to the media talking about 5K, how about 5K, they say very little, thus, they often use the word 5K to say it quickly, with less effort, so as not to have to instruct 5K is like it. Because, what is the 5K presentation like? Is a problem that requires very detailed, thorough and elaborate. Should have adequate time and appropriate guidance. Only then will their people listen. Lotus Group supports students during the COVID-19 epidemic season. He also supported specialized medical equipment for hospitals, more than 100 tons of essential food, etc. Image source, HSG.
1. Masks in the 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. In a normal environment, wearing a mask is mandatory when there is close contact within 5 meters for prevention. In an epidemic environment, wearing a mask is mandatory when participating in traffic, at work or living in the community or society. Because Delta virus COVID-19 is airborne. Therefore, it is not allowed to specify a safe distance.
Prioritize optimal density distance so that the mask has a protective effect. However, it should be aware that, in an epidemic environment, the higher the concentration of people in a narrow space, the density of coronavirus also increases. Apply pressure through the protection of the mask. Therefore, the risk of infection is higher even if you still wear a mask. This means prioritizing optimal density spacing. Wearing a mask will protect its owner. The above mandatory mask wearing applies to those who have received 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine.
2. Disinfection 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. Each individual, family, agency, and business location must ensure general hygiene. At home, living and working places must have a quick antiseptic solution equivalent to hand sanitizer gel. Enough for personal hygiene needs. Toted24's own experience in the prevention of COVID-19 is every time you go to a supermarket or a department store. When they come home, Toted24 uses hand sanitizer to disinfect both hands and arms. At the same time disinfecting 2 feet and 2 shin tubes.
3. Distance and social settings indoors and similar spaces. That the COVID-19 Delta virus spreads through the air. Well, with the condition of wearing a strict mask. Distance with high risk of infection is unspecified. Outdoors if not wearing a mask, the distance with high risk of infection is less than 0.5 m.
The patient's vapor, residual in the air. This is the result of research from sniffing people. Of my dog Panda. That is, when a person has already passed. Then the person's breath still lingers in the air at the place that person has passed. Panda puppy can smells human breath after 10 minutes outdoors.
When the wind is silent, outdoors, when it's quiet, the wind is still. A carrier of COVID-19 has gone from the location estimated under 8 minutes. They still leave a germ-carrying vapor with a density of Delta COVID-19 virus in the air, and other people, not wearing a mask, enter that vapor. Chances of becoming infected when there is a gentle breeze blowing that breath on the victim, or the presence of Delta COVID-19 virus in high density in the breath left by the patient.
When outside there is a beautiful wine, in outdoor conditions, where the wind crosses the road, the safe time estimated to be after 1 minute. If there is a crosswind down the road, safe time estimated after 2 minutes, and depends on travel speed. If there is a wind blowing against the road, there is a risk of infection.
Comparison of human steam with the steam of a waste truck when a garbage truck passes by your room. Then the stench will enter the house if you do not close the door in time. The stench of the garbage truck will linger in your home, with a very high density if you don't use a fan to push it out. However, if you use a fan or are outdoors, that stench also dissipates very quickly because carbon dioxide has a heavier specific gravity than air. However, human vapors carry pathogens. It has a much thinner and lighter density than the carbon dioxide of a garbage truck. So, it will stay in the air longer outdoors or in the house, and you don't feel like blowing away with a fan.
Can I contact COVID-19 from the breath of a patient, remember in the air? The problem of the patient's airflow still kept in the air. would help explain why there are people who keep their distance very strictly, but still infected with COVID-19. That, maybe they are still subjective, or do not know, or accidentally, which goes within the range of the breath of a carrier of COVID-19, which is still in the air.
TOUTED 24 Human Steam Experience. Case 1. The door of TOTED 24's room is the street frontage. It is close to the door of the house next door. Application to study the patient's airflow. TOTED 24 has designed a standing fan position, blowing from the inside to the outside. In doing so, TOTED 24 neutralized the risk of external vapors, which could enter the home.
Case 2. TOTED 24 went to the mountain climbing exercise. Although the climbing route was very few people, only a few people. But when you see someone walking in the same direction ahead, then TOTED 24 stops to create a safe distance. When he saw someone walking in the opposite direction in front, TOTED 24 quickly put on a mask until the end of the way. If there is a wind blowing across the road, then TOTED 24 takes off the mask, which is still safe, etc. Panda Puppy contributes to COVID-19 epidemic prevention research 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. Image source, Luoitraivesau.
Should apply TOTED 24's study on the patient's airflow. To limit sending people to concentrated isolation, through research, we can roughly understand that FO is a person who is positive for the COVID-19 virus. F1 is the person in close contact with FO. F2 is a close contact with F1.
Picture of activities in general isolation area. Provided safety from Delta COVID-19 variables, 2 to 24, with video footage of activities in the concentrated isolation area or waiting room for quarantine, filmed and posted on social media by those in it. Such a concentrated isolation area with no walls separating each other. But it is an empty space, like a very large hall for meetings and collective activities. Although the resting position is 2 meters apart, it is also a very large collective living space. Activities, such as going to the toilet, receiving food rations, etc., will not guarantee a safe distance for Delta variant COVID-19. Click to watch video inside the concentrated isolation area posted on Luoitraivesau's Facebook, here. Screenshot of video inside the concentrated isolation ward. Photo source, Luoitraivesau's live video on September 3, 2021 on Facebook.
Should be limited to transfer people to isolation, stemming from the above characteristics and situations, TOTED 24 found. A. It is advisable to limit sending people to concentrated isolation, because of the concentrated isolation environment. This is the fastest way to spread the COVID-19 virus through the air. B. Housing conditions of FO, F1, F2. But has its own room, ensuring self-contained activities, eating, resting, entertaining, private hygiene. Then, these subjects should self-isolate in their rooms. These self-isolated people will be provided with food, medical services, etc. Thus, while ensuring their lives, while avoiding the risk of disease spread in the concentrated isolation area.
Limitations to driving people to central isolation when people return to home in the West. For the situation, people working in the southeast provinces return to the western countryside today from October 1, 2021. Localities need to organize to receive them all. At the same time deploying quick tests and sending them home to quarantine without being put in centralized isolation areas. This is the time and the opportunity to organize a quick test very effectively. Need to take advantage of it right away. It will benefit the whole world very well. Need to react quickly and flexibly to turn disadvantage into victory, create good change.
4 habits of group meetings and gatherings. Gather 5, gather 3. Or meeting groups to sit and relax, talk, eat, play cards, etc. This is the long-standing practice of living among families, neighbors, friends, etc. Back and forth with each other. 2 to 24 observed, just loosen the distance. There has been a phenomenon of sitting in groups, meeting again from 3 to 10 people. And no one is wearing a mask. Spontaneous sports soccer team meeting. It's clear, you have to breathe hard to play football, so you can't wear a mask. These phenomena are when the road to see. I can't take pictures to prove it. This practice of gathering the COVID-19 virus is very popular. Therefore, even those who have been vaccinated with 2 doses of vaccine, you also need to wear a mask when in close contact.
It is very difficult to control and change living habits. The problem of living habits in the population is very difficult to control, unless the gathering activities are organized according to the regulations of the authorities. In social activities in residential areas, family, neighbors and friends are very difficult to control. Most people have a very good sense of prevention against the COVID-19 epidemic. But not excluded, a small number of people lack awareness in gathering group meetings on a local or national scale. There is a risk that the effectiveness of the fight against the epidemic will be weakened, the epidemic may be prolonged or break out strongly. Therefore, the training of people's awareness of epidemic prevention is a regular, ongoing request. The street has been blocked by COVID-19 for more than 1 month. Photo taken on the first day at 07:24, July 31, 2021. Image source, Luoitraivesau.
They changed when experienced the location of COVID-19. Every afternoon, when he went to the gym to climb the mountain, Toto24 observed a street. But people have the custom of living in groups of 5 and 3. But no one is wearing a mask. Then, this street was blocked by COVID-19 for more than a month before it was lifted. And now, passing by, seeing anyone standing in front of the house is also wearing a mask very seriously. That achievement is due to their experience of suffering. Due to the blockade, and COVID-19 has changed their living habits. It is necessary to encourage people to live, exercise and play sports with a distance orientation.
5 Medical Declaration 4T Strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic.
A scene of acute to control shopping tickets department, August 13, 2021-4T Strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic Vietnam. Image source, Luoitraivesau. 6 Limit going to the department store, don't give out vouchers to go to the department store. According to Toto24's own research, and the reflections of several others. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, every time Toto24 came home from the supermarket, she was infected with domestic flu. But after the outbreak of COVID-19, every time I go to the supermarket, Toto24 all wore strict masks. As a result, they were no longer infected with domestic flu. That has proven that supermarkets, department stores are the best environment for the flu virus to stay, thereby infecting humans. Because the space in the supermarket is self-contained. Plus the temperature of the air conditioner, which is the ideal environment for influenza viruses of all kinds to stay.
Author touted 24-inch a single ticket to go to the market August 13, 2021. 4T Strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic Vietnam. Image source, Luoitraivesau. Toto24 with grocery stores and grocery shopping vouchers. During the 4th epidemic caused by Delta COVID-19, Toto24 had several times to go to supermarkets and department stores to buy groceries. Including the first time, also the only time to be given a voucher to go to the market. Every time I go to the store, I wear a mask, a helmet with a face shield. But when I got home, my feet and ankles were so hot that they lasted through the next day. Toto24 had to apply safety measures to this phenomena, and decided not to go to the department store during the peak period of the epidemic. If necessary, go to the department store during the pandemic. Then Toto24 recommends, you should buy essential goods once, enough to use for about 3 months. Or switch to buying online, or at the local grocery store.
7 Experience, limit close contact with tourists. To prevent the spread of influenza viruses. Here is Toto24's own experience. In 2 years, 2015 to 2016, every afternoon, Toto24 also took the Golden Dog for a walk on the beach by Sao, Vung Tau. Walking along the beach on Ha Long Street VT, there is a phenomenon that often occurs. That is, both the owner and the Golden Dog are often infected with domestic flu. Due to close contact with many tourists from other provinces traveling to Vung Tau. Around the second half of 2016, the city has a policy to ban walking dogs on the beach. So Toto24 had to change direction to take the dog for a walk in the mountains on Viba Street, Lawn Mountain, Vermont. On this mountain road, only close contact with local people exercising. And strangely, since then both the owner and the Golden Dog have not been infected with domestic flu anymore except when going to the supermarket. Toto24 has learned from that experience. And when there is a COVID-19 epidemic, Toto24 often avoids no close contact with tourists anymore.
8 Markets, department stores. Should combine sales forms, both fixed, mobile and online. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Toto24 ordered food online at supermarkets, according to the instructions of the authorities. But really, the supermarket's web system displays a notice of refusal to order online. So I can never order food online from supermarkets, while all the traditional markets have been closed. So during the peak COVID-19 pandemic, and after the easing of social distancing, the following sales service model should be recognized, allowed and encouraged, because they help with social distancing and distancing very effectively.
The model of selling essential foods in the home, proven to be highly effective, in practice. This model, confirmed during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, whoever is, stays there. It is clear that Toto24 has run out of stored food, but must follow the next who is where, stay there. What will people live on? Therefore, people should be allowed and encouraged to sell essential goods and food at home. Ensure that people go out from home from 100-200 meters, can buy food and essential goods. In the peak days, the policy is to be followed, whoever stays where he is. The banana SCAD product was delivered to Toto24's door by a motorcycle salesman. Photo taken in the morning of August 30, 2021. With a selling price of 30,000 VND/kg. Image source, Luoitraivesau.
Some other popular sales models during the COVID-19 pandemic. Proven to be highly effective, in practice, model of home-based mobile vending motorbike. This is a model that works very well. During the peak of the 4th epidemic due to the recent Delta COVID-19 virus. The model of bringing the market to the street. This is also a flexible model, but its popularity is not much. People still have to travel a kilometer or more to reach this market. Model of selling essential food goods along the street. This is a model that is working very well since the easing of social distancing. Model of mobile vending car. Model of online sales groups on Facebook.
The image of sea filling at Luoitraivesau, taken on October 15, 2019, right before the COVID-19 pandemic. Image source, Luoitraivesau. 9. Do not dig into the natural landscape to develop tourism economic infrastructure. According to research by Tota24, there is a correlation between the natural landscape and the immune system of the human body. A regular person, behold the beautiful natural landscape. That will stimulate the body's natural immune system to develop well. Help produce antibodies to fight the threat of infectious diseases caused by bacteria, viruses. In the case of the natural landscape being excavated, which humans often have to see, will result in the weakening of the human immune system, as well as the artificial landscapes. Image of trucks dumping rocks to fill the sea at Luoitraivesau. Photo taken on October 15, 2019, at 5:18 p.m. right before the COVID-19 pandemic. Image source, Luoitraivesau.
Phenomenon of Honorable Tree Island landscape in Nha Bay. Honorable Tree Island is likened to a pearl island of Nha Bay because of the pristine beauty of the island. But now, seeing the actual landscape of Honorable Tree Island, the unspoiled beauty is being seriously damaged. That makes people like to admire the natural landscape from Honorable Tree Island. May be disappointed. Nha Bay is beautiful because of the pristine beauty of the island. Is it possible to preserve the natural landscape of Honorable Tree Island anymore? Honorable Tree Island, from the north looking at the largest excavation area. To compare with satellite images of Google Maps. Image source, Luoitraivesau. Photo taken at 17:31 on August 19, 2021. Image of butchering a mountain range on Honorable Tree Island in Nha Bay. To develop projects, people have cut across a mountain range. Image source, Google Maps at 11:12 am, October 5, 2021.
There is nothing more to say about the violent act of breaking the natural landscape. Collectively, large natural landscape excavations like these, whether licensed or unlicensed by the government, it is still a violent act of destroying the natural landscape. If there is a large and successful excavation of the natural landscape, the consequences will be that the small natural landscape excavations will not be controlled in the form of food. You see, we shouldn't get rich but defy everything, especially the violent act of destroying the natural landscape. Image of digging a mountain range on Tree Island in Nha Bay. To develop projects, people have cut across a mountain range. Image source, Google Maps at 11:12 am, October 5, 2021.
Theory of aliens shooting the COVID-19 virus into the earth. To punish humanity for destroying the natural landscape. Yes or no, the aliens shooting the COVID-19 virus into the earth. To punish mankind for destroying the natural landscape. Indeed, the scale of digging up a natural landscape on Earth, man-made, is huge. So there is a basis for the correlation between the destruction of the natural landscape of mankind with the human punishment of the COVID-19 virus. Aliens have superhuman powers to punish humanity, is on a very high basis. However, this is only Tota24's imaginary hypothesis, when it is very painful to see the natural landscape being destroyed on a very large scale.
10 business services with high risk of infection: restaurants, pubs, bars, net game shops, cinemas, dance halls, sports events, cultural events, which has the form of gathering, close contact. Well, since the epidemic is under control, the easing measures should be gradual, not hasty. Except for sports activities, organized gatherings, and comply with the conditions prescribed by the authorities. At the same time, authorities can check and control such activities. In the event of a resurgence of the COVID-19 epidemic, the operation must be stopped immediately, because these are activities of gathering nature, close contact. Therefore, the risk of contracting COVID-19 is very high.
11 Urban population distance planning in the 4T strategy for living with the COVID-19 pandemic. Housing, planning residential distance orientation. Limit housing floor area under 30 m to inch the city, etc.
See criteria to guide fixed and mobile medical services. 1. Mechanized taking samples for testing, preventing system inertia. A general who fights against COVID-19 is a general who must know how to increase labor productivity for the system. Therefore, generals fighting COVID-19 must know how to mechanize in taking samples for testing. The force of sampling should not be rampant, but sampling campaigns should be launched in high-risk areas. Quickly end the sampling campaign, without annoying delays. Thanks to the motor vehicle sampling, it should be beaten somewhere. Help reduce sampling frequency, not overlapping sampling frequency like the current sampling table. Image of a sample collection table for COVID-19 testing at 18 o'clock, August 8, 2021. Image source, Luoitraivesau.
Setting up the sampling table can cause inertia and may overlap the sampling frequency. Placing the sampling table, it creates great inertia. Wherever the team sets the sampling table, the next time they reserve the table at the same place. If the place is quiet, they prefer to put the table there so it is easy to create overlapping sampling frequency. Although the latter, when active, they have the flexibility to move the sampling table. Set the sampling table here for about 1-2 hours, then they move the table to another point to take samples. But this still causes trouble when people have to move away from home, and does not guarantee the collection of the required sample. When it is not positive, setting the sampling table creates inertia again.
Incorporating motor vehicle sampling, which eliminates inertia. Bringing motor vehicles into sampling will increase mobility and flexibility, eliminate inertia for the system. Avoid wasting time and effort. In addition to specialized testing vehicles limited in quantity, generals fighting COVID-19 need to know how to requisition passenger cars to convert their functions into vehicles to take samples for testing. Each vehicle taking samples for testing is arranged with 2 teams to take turns every 30 minutes. Each sampling team consists of 3 people: sampler, sample holder, scribe. Sampling should not be according to a predetermined list. The sampling vehicle should follow the street. Sequential sampling from each house, including houses and alleys 100 m deep back. The house and the alley is further away. Increase a team to walk from house to house to take samples.
Staff taking samples should be proactive, flexible and mobile. To eliminate inertia, if employees go to take samples, they should actively and flexibly go to each house and each apartment to take samples. It is advisable to limit the arrangement of tables to sit in one place, so that people have to move hundreds of meters to the sampling table. Sometimes crowded with people. For high-rise apartment buildings, organize 4 teams to take the elevator to each apartment to take samples.
Who should limit sampling frequency? Mandatory for COVID-19 testing. Persons who have been successful 2 OF per vaccines for COVID-19. Sampling frequency should be limited. Mandatory for COVID-19 testing. For those who have received 2 full doses of COVID-19 vaccine. In case they have to communicate, work in an environment with a high risk of infection, such as truck drivers, factory workers, etc. Then you can extend the sampling frequency. It can be 15 days, 20 days, 30 days/time, except for cases where a full sample is required for testing for COVID-19, such as bus driver, passenger train attendant, flight attendant, etc.
People work online only, less external contacts, high prevention considerations. People who often work online from home have little direct contact with the outside, or mainly only by online. Self-preventing awareness of disease is high. It is also advisable to limit the frequency of sampling. Mandatory to test for COVID-19. For these people, older people, less communication with the outside, or people who live a closed life, have high consciousness, etc., are also subject to, should limit the frequency of sampling. Mandatory for COVID-19 testing. It is necessary to have standards to recognize the results of the COVID-19 rapid test, which are performed by the people themselves.
2. Reporting COVID-19 data needs to be objective, honest and timely. A general who is good at fighting COVID-19 is a general who must have a COVID-19 report on hand, a graph of COVID-19, updated in an objective, honest and timely manner. Because there is no updated COVID-19 report objectively, honestly, in a timely manner. Of course, there won't be a good COVID-19 champion. Objective reporting is only subject to expertise and professionalism, without being swayed by any kind of decision that falsifies the reporting data command.
About 150,000 cases of FO positive for COVID-19. Results of quick test in Saigon. About 150,000 cases of FO positive for COVID-19. Results of the quick test in Saigon from August 20, 2021 to September 27, 2021. This data source has not been promptly published by the Ministry of Health on the National COVID-19 Data System. This is a huge waste of effort and resources, because if this data is published in time, it will help the generals fight COVID-19 and the people have the right awareness of the problem and adjust to prevent and control COVID-19. Not so timely reporting data like that shows that we don't have a good COVID-19 champion yet. On the other hand, it also makes the graphs representing COVID-19 not reflect reality. Click to view the cited source. Here, 2 VN September 27, 2021 13:25 GMT 7 here, Xing News VN Tuesday, September 28, 2021.
3. Medical need to be mobile to control and treat FO at home. In principle, it is not advisable to put FO, F1, F2 inches concentrated isolation, according to the way of life and collective activities. Since the Delta COVID-19 variant is airborne, the centralized isolation issue must be changed. Until I watched the video, gathered by people in the isolation ward. Waiting room for concentrated isolation posting on social networks, only Toted 24 can evaluate. This is an issue that needs to be rectified.
It is necessary to adjust the centralized isolation when the situation changes. That is, the situation has changed radically compared to the beginning of the COVID-19 epidemic. At that time, former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence said, the safe distance is 2 meters. But now doing so is no longer correct, because the Delta COVID-19 variant has been transmitted through the air. Thus, if we continue to put FO and F1 into the concentrated isolation area, will cause the risk of infection to break out in the concentrated isolation area. Therefore, medical must be mobile to control and treat FO at home. In this way, Saigon has done well in recent times. Should be disseminated to other provinces.
4 hospitals should be well prepared to receive FO transfer cases. To the point of requiring hospitalization, the treatment and care of COVID-19 positive FO cases at home has greatly reduced the load on hospitals and concentrated isolation areas. Therefore, the focus of hospitals is to be ready to receive treatment of FO cases requiring hospitalization for intensive care and treatment. In addition, hospitals also need support in terms of experience, advice and professional guidance, as well as staff rotation, to strengthen the mobile health workforce in the treatment of COVID-19 positive case FO at home.
5. Get vaccinated. Shot against COVID-19. Due to the nature of vaccine preservation in cold environments, so vaccination points are organized in appropriate locations.
Target audience for vaccination against COVID-19. The goal of injecting 2 doses of vaccine against COVID-19, reaching 70% of the population. For priority subjects in the strategy of living with COVID-19. The remaining 30% of the population may be subject to delayed vaccination against COVID-19, because these people are at low risk of being infected with COVID-19.
Objects that should priority vaccination in strategy for life with the COVID-19 virus. Priority 1, that is the workforce of all ages, all professions, who have the need to travel, communicate directly with many people. Priority 2, people with underlying medical conditions, pregnant women, etc.
Subjects that can delay the vaccine for COVID-19, people who often work online from home, have little direct contact with the outside, or mainly only by online. Self-preventing awareness of disease is high. Older people, less communication with the outside, or people who live a closed life, high consciousness, etc. These people are at low risk of being infected with COVID-19.
6. About the effective time of the mRNA vaccine. Click to see the quoted source. Here, Luoitraivesau.com. According to VOA News on October 7, 2021, the following 2 reports. There is also a difference in the validity period of the COVID-19 vaccine. This issue will be the subject of many subsequent reports. Therefore, countries need to have preparation and backup for the 3rd dose of COVID-19 vaccine, and does not rule out the need for annual booster vaccination. According to the assessment of the National Institutes of Health ISS Italy, 7 months after the 2nd effective dose of mRNA vaccines against COVID, no decrease in the general population in Italy. Slightly decreased in some specific subjects, according to the National Institutes of Health ISS on October 6. The report, led by the ISS and the Ministry of Health, evaluates the data as of August 29. From more than 29 million people who have received 2 doses of mRNA vaccines, such as those from Pfizer and Moderna. According to the ISS, in the general population, the effectiveness of the vaccine against infection after 7 months is still at 89. Effective against hospitalization and half-year mortality after the 2nd injection, at 96 and 99, respectively. A study conducted by Pfizer, published in the medical journal Lancet on October 4 said, the effectiveness of the Pfizer vaccine in preventing infection half a year after the 2nd dose, it dropped from 88 to 47. The protection period of the vaccine may depend on the epidemic prevention environment, age, and the body of each person. In Italy, people have to wear masks in closed environments. Before summer, everyone had to wear masks outdoors. The strict rules remain in place, which may affect the results, according to the ISS report, for people with weak immunity. 28 days after the 2nd dose, the vaccine's protection against infection is reduced and decrease more or less depending on the type of disease that weakens the immune system. Vaccine efficacy in people over 80 years of age and people in nursing homes. Also slightly but still above 80, the ISS said. Comparison of protective efficacy of mRNA vaccines between 2 variants Alpha and Delta compared to the days of the Alpha variant to the current period of the Delta variant. Effectiveness against infection decreased from 84.8 to 67.1, while protecting against hospitalization fell from 91.7 to 88.7.
7 medicines to treat COVID-19 and the 4T strategy for living with the COVID-19 pandemic. When pharmaceutical companies around the world produce special drugs to treat COVID-19 in the form of oral tablets. If products are mass-produced and widely available for sale, the COVID-19 disease will turn into a state like a common flu. According to VOA News, as of October 5, 2021, in Asia, there are already Thailand, Korea, Taiwan, Malaysia under discussion or negotiate with the U.S. pharmaceutical company Merck Company to buy a course of molnupiravir tablets against the COVID-19 virus in testing. Molnupiravir tablets, which are formulated to have the ability to misplace the virus's genetic code, possibly as the first oral anti-COVID-19 pill to treat COVID-19 patients. Click to see the quoted source here.
Apply for approval of molnupiravir in Japan, according to NHK News. On October 7, 2021, the Japanese branch of the American pharmaceutical company Merck said, "We'll quickly seek government approval for an oral drug to treat COVID-19 to be able to deliver in Japan before the end of this year." Kyle Tattle, president of MSD, a subsidiary of Merck, and MSD representative director Shirasawa Hiromichi made the above statement to NHK. They said that MSD is in discussions with Japanese regulators to apply for approval of molnupiravir, a drug designed to interfere with the coronavirus' ability to replicate. Last Friday, Merck announced that, in the final phase of a clinical trial, molnupiravir showed efficacy in halving the risk of hospitalization and death. Click to view the cited source, here, NHK or JP.
Molnupiravir is being tested effectively in Vietnam. Responding to a VN Express reporter on October 4, Deputy Health Minister Nguyen Trong Sun said, "There are currently no real scientific data on the results of the molnupiravir trial. However, initially, the drug helps reduce the viral load well. The rate of seriously ill patients hospitalized in HCMC has decreased a lot, in part due to good medical control. The other part also thanks to some drugs to support treatment, such as anti-inflammatory drugs, anticoagulants, antiretroviral drugs. Molnupiravir for mild FO at home," said the deputy minister. Click here to view the cited source, vnexpress.net Monday, October 4, 2021, 13:02 GMT7.
Molnupiravir effectively reduces virus download. Dr. Dao Hui Hayu, 108 Central Military Hospital, in the group of Military Medical Academy, participated in anti-epidemic in Ho Chi Minh City since August 21st. He took on the task of treating FO at home and evaluated the drug molnupiravir to help reduce the viral load effectively. Some of the patients I received had a viral load index CT of 24-27, used the drug within 1-2 days. Tested negative, said Dr. Hayu. The sample base is small, not able to evaluate the whole, but it shows that the drug has a rapid reduction in viral load.
Conditions for use of medicine is FO 18-65 years old, small symptoms. Dr. Hayu said that FO who was given the drug molnupiravir had a positive rapid test or PCR result, identified as a new carrier of the virus using antiviral drugs. Conditions for taking the drug are FO from 18-65 years old, mild symptoms, fever, dry cough, sore throat, stuffy nose, fatigue, headache, muscle aches, numbness of tongue. No signs of pneumonia or hypoxia, respiratory rate less than 20 breaths/minute, SpO2 over 96. Participants in the trial will sign an agreement to use molnupiravir for the right purposes and according to the instructions. Molnupiravir is a new antiviral drug, which is in phase 3 clinical trials around the world.
The bag of medicine is a molnupiravir antivirus molnupiravir drug, which is included in the pilot program by the Ministry of Health to treat and control COVID-19 cases. Home-based care, from the end of August 2021. More than 26,000 FOH HCMC are being treated at home. They were given 3 bags of medicine A, B, C, depending on their medical condition, in which drug bag A is the common medicine, including antipyretic drugs and vitamins to improve health. Packet B, which are limited-use drugs, in some special situations, include corticosteroids and anticoagulants. In particular, drug bag C is the antiviral drug molnupiravir.
On October 6, 2021, the Ministry of Health issued a document to include molnupiravir in the treatment regimen. On October 6, the Ministry of Health issued guidelines for the diagnosis and treatment of COVID-19, including molnupiravir in the treatment regimen along with 2 other antiviral drugs, remdesivir and favipiravir. The ministry also continues to expand the pilot program of FO-controlled treatment at home and in the community in 12 localities such as Hanoi, Than Hoa, Da Nang, Can Hoa, Binh Dinh, Dong Nai, Long and Bà Rịa Vũng Chip. Click here to view the quoted source.
1 million more molnupiravir medicine distributed on October 6 and 7. An additional million molnupiravir pills were distributed to 10 provinces to meet treatment for a large number of FO patients in the localities. This is the number of drugs sponsored by DB Investment and Development, one member limited liability company, founding shareholder of EcoPark Group, to the Ministry of Health, as part of a plan to sponsor nearly 2 million molnupiravir pills.
Molnupiravir was tested in the world, unlimited applicate. Molnupiravir is being tested worldwide, not yet licensed approved. In Vietnam, the drug has been tested in phase 2 and continues to be tested in phase 3. The drug has been included in the pilot program for the controlled treatment of COVID-19 cases at home and community by the Ministry of Health. Based care.
Aid folk medicine to support the treatment of COVID-19.
D. Criteria for public policy orientation and transparency. Publicize policies, measures and plans to the public in advance at least 5-8 days. Adhering to sticking to Maslow's pyramid of needs 5-story tower. In which, pay attention to the second floor need for safety. It is necessary to limit the intentional leaking of information out before making it public. Officially announce the policy of anti-epidemic plan measures. Because this is a loophole, spreading rumors, causing damage and frustration in social life and the economy.
Afterward, 4T strategy for living with the COVID-19 pandemic. Coming to the work of 4T strategy researcher, you will feel more secure in the prevention of the COVID-19 epidemic. The reason why among us, there are people who are too afraid of COVID-19. That is, because they do not yet understand a number of operating principles, which are drawn from practice. Also, we have not made optimal use of existing resources, as well as a ray of hope from resources in the near future. If you are a person with an overwhelming fear of COVID-19, you may make ill-advised decisions that can cause damage to those around.
4T strategy, help you turn disadvantage into victory. The work of the 4T strategy, though not long, is not too detailed, but has enough basic components. Help you turn disadvantage into victory at your fingertips. In particular, the 4T strategy will help you explain why there are people who have taken very strict COVID-19 prevention measures, but still infected with COVID-19, or the costly and lengthy anti-COVID-19 campaign. It is possible to summarize the reasons briefly from the content presented above. Because supermarkets and department stores with air conditioning system, you should only come here having had 2 vaccinations, or have optimal protective equipment, or when the COVID-19 epidemic is over. Not actively mechanizing the collection of samples for COVID-19 testing. Maintain excessively concentrated medical isolation. Enter the patient's stream of residual vapors in the air. Apply the 2-meter safe distance instruction, dating back to the time of former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, etc.
Comments on the prospect of ending the COVID-19 pandemic with the current research capacity and production speed of COVID-19 vaccines and specific drugs, as well as expected in 2022. 2did24 said that the COVID-19 pandemic will be controlled on a worldwide scale around June 2022. Until that time, and the next time after that, the COVID-19 epidemic persists through the habitats of the COVID-19 influenza virus, such as supermarkets, department stores, disease carriers.
The COVID-19 epidemic still exists, but has become less severe. The COVID-19 epidemic still exists, but is no longer serious. Because of the following factors, COVID-19 positive patients will be treated like a regular flu patient. Thanks to the high rate of vaccination against COVID-19 and the timely intervention of COVID-19 specific drugs that have been popularized, the proportion of people with underlying diseases has decreased, so the risk of dying from COVID-19 in this group of people also decreases. At that time, people can have the freedom to choose one of 3 ways to prevent COVID-19, namely, get vaccinated against COVID-19, use of special drugs to treat COVID-19, or combine both vaccination and COVID-19 treatment.
4T strategy for those interested in the COVID-19 pandemic. 4T strategy to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. Vietnam, to serve investors. Also for the administrators of Wuhan flu virus, COVID-19 corona, and all of you who care about public health, domestic and international.
Remember to subscribe to Luoitraivesau channel on YouTube to watch the next videos.
Thanks for your follow-up attention. See you soon. Good luck.